people. First off, thank you guys for tuning in to our last class, and thank all of you for remotely tuning in for this class. If you didn't already know, Table Mountain Vineyards, we're offering take-home kits for customizable signs that you guys can put in your house, so be sure to check those out. Also, we want to see all of your artwork from the previous class, so be sure to drop those below. And technical things, we're using 3 different paint brushes today. We have our palette for all of our paint, water, our water cup, and then paper towels just to kind of get rid of any of that excess water that you have on your paint brushes. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump right in. Our first step, we're going to use our large square brush, and we're just going to totally saturate the background of our canvas. For those of you that are doing the coral color, we will have paints that you can mix to get that color. This time, if you guys have painted with me before, you know that pretty much every single one of my paintings is going to be different. This one's going to be different today. So instead of doing the coral background, I'm going to do a turquoise background. It's going to be different from the original post, so that if you guys want to do the turquoise background, you can surely do so. If you want to do a different color, red, yellow, that's up to you. You guys can go ahead and personalize that as you wish. So I'm going to do that turquoise color. First step, we're just going to saturate that entire background. Be sure to do the tops and the sides of your canvas on this first step, and let's get to painting. Also, for this first step, I want everyone to know that water is going to be one of the most crucial ingredients here. It'll help just kind of move that pigment onto your canvas. Also, the less paint that you use, the quicker that canvas is going to dry. So more water, less paint, it'll allow you more flexibility once we start putting in our cactus. If you guys are getting some choppy spots in your painting, go ahead and stand up if you need to, but really get your arm working and do some nice fluid strokes, big strokes, and that'll just kind of help smooth out that background, okay? If I have these lighter areas, if you want to keep that nice and light, just let it dry. Otherwise, if you want it all to be that pretty bright saturated color, just add a little bit more paint to it and move it onto your canvas that way. Okay, so my canvas was a little bit too dark, so what I'm doing is I'm just lightening it up, putting in a little bit of white, some white streaks throughout my background here. Then I'm gonna grab some water and just softly smooth those out, just to give it a more subtle look for that background. Okay, if you guys want to lighten it up, easy fix. Just add a little bit of white, or if there's an area that your canvas isn't taking that paint so well, just add a little bit of white there, lots of water, big strokes to soften that out, and that should be good. Okay, so now moving forward, hopefully you guys haven't put too much paint down on your canvas. If it is still a little bit wet, just give yourself some time, sit back, have a sip of whatever you're drinking, and allow that canvas just to dry a little bit, and it'll help on this next step that we're doing. Your colors won't bleed or mix as terribly. So I'm moving to my bullet brush. This is gonna be our middle-sized brush, and I'm gonna grab my phthalo green, which is going to be this darker green here. I'm gonna throw in a little bit of white, mix that, and I'm just gonna start outlining my cactus where I want it to go. If you guys watched in my little sneak peek video, I put the canvas or the cactus how I thought I wanted it, and then I added on a few little pieces later, which you can surely do. Okay, I would highly recommend starting out with fewer pieces of your cactus and adding to it, as it's going to be a lot more difficult to take pieces away now that we have that background put into place. And this may be a little hard to see because my background is still a little bit wet, so I'm gonna lighten that up with some white. I'm just giving myself a rough draft of where I want this cactus to be on my canvas. Giving him like a Mickey Mouse look right now. Okay, so this is my outline right now. I will be the first to tell you that I have no two paintings that are going to be the same. Okay, this is already pretty different from the original painting that I did. But what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to start by filling in my cactus. I am going to make strokes downward. Okay, I want it to give it the effect that this is the growth pattern of my cactus. So your strokes are going to be what's most important. So this is going to be the point or the top of my growth pattern for this cactus, and I'm just going to break down my strokes following that contour or that outline, and I'm slowly going to start filling in my cactus. This one I'm doing a little bit lighter just for demonstration's sake so that it kind of pops off the canvas and you guys are able to see it a little bit better at home. But that's going to be our next step, is we're just going to go ahead and start filling these in. Then we're going to come in and do a little bit of highlights and some lowlights to give it a more realistic look. And if you guys want to throw in a little bit of that grass green as you're filling that in, go ahead and do so, and it'll just kind of help avoid our next step. You know, it'll give it more of that cactus look. Cactus color. Okay, so now that we have kind of our base color for our cactus, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start to come in and do some lowlights, which is gonna be the darker areas of this cactus. I'm still using my bullet brush. I have just mixed a darker consistency with that phthalo green. No straight lines, just give it a little bit of curve to it. It'll give it a little bit more of a realistic look. So I'm gonna come in and, like I said, just kind of add some lowlights onto my cactus. The harder you push, the thicker your stroke is gonna be. So if I come through and just push like this, see how thick that stroke is? The lighter the touch, the thinner the stroke, okay? That's about the consistency that I'm gonna wanna get for my lowlights. And I'm just gonna come in and add a little bit of depth to this cactus with that darker color. So pick a side. Realistically speaking, if the sun's gonna be on this side, obviously all the areas on the right of the cactus are going to be shadowed. So I'm gonna try to emphasize that. I am gonna add some darker areas throughout just to give it a little bit more contrast. But I'm gonna keep in mind that my darkest areas are going to be on the right side of my cactus and also where it meets the lower set. So any area where it's coming out of a previous part of my cactus, I'm gonna really emphasize the dark or shadowed area of that part of the cactus, okay? Okay, so now that I have the shadowed areas on my cactus, I'm gonna come back through, pretty much do the exact same thing. None of my lines are real straight. Like I said, I'm adding a lot of edge or curve to it just to give it a little bit more depth. And I'm gonna come through with my white or lighter color. It's a lighter mix. And I'm gonna bring in those highlights to that cactus. So same deal that we used for our lowlights, we're gonna do to our highlights. Okay, so now that we have our lowlights and our highlights and our cactus is looking a little bit more real, we're gonna add on our blossoms. I'm gonna let you guys kind of pick and choose where you want to put those blossoms. Let's see, on the original one, I have so one down here, we have another one up here, and then here and here. If you guys want to do one on that center one, that's fine. This is your painting. You kind of put them where you see fit. I'm probably going to stick to the same one. Also, I wanted to mention that if you guys want to do a different color blossom, on the original one, it's purple. But I think on this one, I'm going to do a little bit more of a yellow, just to help make it pop off the canvas a little bit more. So there's two different ways that we can do this. If you guys would like, to do a blossom similar to this one, I'll show you how to do that. If you want to do pink, how do we get pink? Red and white. Okay, to get a nice pink color. Purple, we use what two colors? Red and blue, okay? And just add a little bit of white to get the color or consistency that you're wanting, the shade, I should say. Okay, so for this blossom here, I'm using my bullet brush, and I'm just gonna let the brush do a lot of the work for me, where it's gonna make a petal. Okay, it's almost a 5-point petal. You guys don't have to do 5. If you want to put in more, that's perfectly fine. This is where we're going to push hard on that brush, because the bristles are going to flatten out and do a lot of that work for us. Okay, so I'm going to let that just kind of dry a bit. And then to give it a little bit more of a depth feel, I'm going to come in with some dark red for the center and do the same thing. And just kind of let it fan out into those petals that we already put. If you guys want to darken that up a little bit, which I would, just let that dry, come back, add some more petals if you want. That's going to be the way that I'm probably going to do it today, because not any two of my paintings are alike. So for the original one, if you guys want to do the blossom that way, what we're going to do is just whisk our brush up. So find a point, or the point where that blossom is going to come off your cactus, and we're just going to softly whisk those petals up, okay? Harder at the bottom, and slowly pull your brush back to sharpen up that line or get it to a fine point. I know this looks funny because it's on the back side of my canvas, so it'll look a lot more different. Then what I'm gonna come back and do, just darken up that center, just to give it more of a feel. Okay, so couple different options here on your petals, or your blossoms, I should say. I'm gonna go with this one today, and I'm going to do a yellow blossom, just to make it pop a little bit. So use whatever colors you have in front of you. This one you can see is kind of an array. You can do it that way if you want. A couple of ideas for your little dots too, once we get to that point. Okay, so I know what you guys are thinking. Kelsey, you're a dum-dum. That's not yellow. I changed my mind, and if anybody knows me, I like to change my mind a lot, especially when you're being creative. So change your blossom to whatever color you want. Mine's a little bit more of an orange. What I'm gonna do, since those are kind of laid out, this is my rough draft, I'm gonna come through while those are drying. I'm gonna start putting in my dots to highlight and low light my cactus. Just the same deal that we did previously with these previous strokes. We're just gonna come through and do our dots, and that's gonna take quite a bit of time, so that'll give these time to dry, and then we'll come in and just kind of darken up the center there. Okay, so for these highlights, I am gonna switch, or for the dots, I should say, I'm switching to my baby brush, just to get more of that finer point. So now's a good time to switch over. Also for these darker dots, if you guys want to add in a little bit of black, especially for those shadowed areas, now is a good time to do that. So just a little bit of black, my phthalo green, and I'm going to start adding in those dots on my cactus. Okay, so no real rhyme or reason to how I put my dots on my canvas. If you guys want to do those in a different color to kind of brighten it up, make it pop a little bit, you can do that. Also, if you want to add a little bit of the spines off of there, you can surely do that as well. I might add a few, and then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come back to my blossoms since they are pretty much dry, and I'm just going to detail those out just a little bit. Remember, we want the center to be the darkest part of our blossom. And if you do those strokes, just kind of whisk them lightly or softly away from that center. Okay, you guys, so just to add a final finishing touch on mine, I did add a few little orange dots in my background just to kind of help complement my orange blossoms. That is a wrap for today's class. I hope you guys enjoyed tuning in and following along with this class. We want to see your finished product, your finished artwork, so be sure to drop those below. Also, don't forget to sign that artwork. Also follow us, Table Mountain Vineyards. We have the take-home kits for the wood signs. We also have some really cool ceramic gnomes that you guys can paint and put in your garden this growing season. We appreciate you guys following along. Those that do drop their finished product, you guys will be entered in a drawing for a free class, just like we do out here at the winery. So be sure to put those in and we will draw and let you guys know who the winner is. So thanks so much, and you guys enjoy your day.